Guys, I don't really know what to say. I'm obviously frustrated. I'm absolutely livid in regards to what Nicolas Jackson did. I think for what that game meant today, for how important that is in Chelsea's season, what was riding on it, we had to keep cool, calm. Don't let that sort of game and environment get the better of us and manage the outcome. Because even if you pick up a point in that game, you know, it's more beneficial for Chelsea to do so. Away at St James's Park, it's a tough place to go. You need a bit of leadership. You need the right sort of mentality in a game like that to set how that game's got to go. And I think today we saw just how much Chelsea lack leadership. Just how much Chelsea need that bit of experience in there to manage those sort of difficult games. Ones that more experienced pros will get the better of a young side in. I think we saw that today. We saw players like Dan Burn, Bruno. They knew exactly what to say today. Even like Fabian Schär, Nick Pope. I think they caused Chelsea players to lose their head, to get a little bit frustrated. And we saw that, didn't we? 2 minutes in. I mean, look, they were way more up for the game. Way more up for it. We looked like we were all over the place. And I think that's tactically as well as mentality-wise, to be honest with you. I think tactically, we're starting to see that there's so much reliance on an inverted fullback every single game in terms of stubbornness and a reliance to his system, in terms of Maresca needing to play that role and make sure someone's doing it every game, that we're actually now removing our player of the season from the position where he's earned player of the season to accommodate for an inverted fullback. I actually look at Enzo, Lavia and Caicedo and think you could quite easily play them as a three and it would probably work. I look at other teams around the league and I think they manage to play a certain type of midfield system that isn't too dissimilar to what you could do with ours without an inverted fullback. And they allow their fullbacks to bomb on and create width, and they can show their ability in other ways as a fullback. But Maresca's got such a stubbornness towards that. I think we're starting to see that become a bit of an issue, to be honest. We saw, obviously, for the first goal, Lavia gets caught in position. Now, I think Lavia's been good. I think he got unfortunate there, but it is his error that leads to that goal. But I also think we saw Tonali alive at the back post when I just don't think anyone else was as alive as he was in that moment. Murphy as well obviously managed to get himself an assist. We knew he'd be a threat today, and of course he does that with the form he's been in this season in terms of creating goals. And we weren't at it, and that was all sort of 2 minutes in. The first half then continued to get away from us, and I think you could see players were becoming agitated. Look, it's a warm day in England, so maybe the heat got to them a little bit, but it's not excusable. And I think the message from the bench should have been calming that team down, stay in the game, don't lose your heads. It's going to be tough today. They're going to rile us up. That's what Newcastle do, but stay in the game. Don't let yourself be the reason that Chelsea don't get a win today. Might not get Champions League football. But Nicolas Jackson, he just wasn't able to do that. And what he did today is absolutely disastrous in terms of Chelsea's hopes for Champions League football. I also think it might be disastrous in terms of his career at Chelsea going forwards. Because I'll tell you right now, the player-fan relationship, trust that it's gone. That is no longer there. On TikTok, I've had so many fans saying to me they want to see the back of him. They're done. They're fed up with what he's been like every week. You know what? I think Chelsea fans can accept a player that is struggling in front of goal in terms of form. I think that's a Werner, a Torres at times. You know, history suggests that Chelsea will give that player a chance if their mentality's right. Today, Jackson showed why we wouldn't, and it's his mentality. He's absolutely gone in with intent there. I don't know whether it's to hurt him, but he's gone in with intent to lead with his elbow at least, and he has done that. You can so easily see him look around, assess the situation, and make the decision to lead with his forearm or his elbow and just absolutely smash that in to Sven Botman's face. It's a blatant red card. It's violent conduct. I don't care how you dress that up. He does not deserve to be on the pitch after that. And the fact that Enzo Maresca lost his head and then picked up a booking when it's so obvious to see Jackson's done that. And I think as a fan base, we can all see that Jackson has gone with a bit of intent there. I think Nicolas Jackson's let the team down massively. But I also think in that moment, Enzo Maresca, as a manager, has to do a little bit more. Going and getting booked there sets the tone. And I think we then saw players like later on in the game, we saw Enzo Fernandez, the captain, losing his head a little bit. We saw Levi Cowwell again, which pretty much every week Levi Cowwell's doing something. And I think we saw Newcastle were able to rile Chelsea up. And I think that's probably half the reason that game got away from us, is because there's a little bit of experience in there. Some players who have, been around the game for a longer time, understand how to win matches in a situation like that, understand that in a winning position, it's actually okay to go and wind up your opposition to ensure that you get the victory. But, if you're losing or you're 0-0, it's probably not the best time to do that. And I think we saw that Enzo Fernandez and Levi Cowwell really didn't manage that situation well at all. And I think, and as well as Enzo Maresca not managing it as well, we've seen there's an issue with Chelsea with leadership and experience this season. And I think a game like that, leadership and experience set the tone for how it has to play out. And ultimately, I think we saw that Chelsea are really lacking in that department. And we've known that for a while now as Chelsea fans. But that game, considering how costly that result might be, I think it really, really shows that has to be addressed. And the mindset and the thought process towards assembling an inexperienced side and expecting it to be okay when they've got very high opinions of themselves for not much being achieved, it has to change. With all that being said, I saw players out there fighting and together in that second half, trying everything, but it just not being enough. And there were some tactical shifts to try and work things out and make something happen, which I do encourage. And I do think that potentially if we play like that in the last 2 games of the season, as tough as they will be, we might get something, because I just don't think Forest and Man United are as good as what Newcastle are. I don't think, look, they're going to be tough, but Manchester United at Stamford Bridge is a winnable game, especially with how they've been this season. And Forest, I'm not viewing Forest as the same Forest that we saw a little bit earlier on in the season, but it will be a very, very, very difficult game, especially going there on the last day of the season. But a little bit of fight and desire, and Chelsea actually almost not being on top for the second half, but we kind of were, even though we lost it, being down to 10 men. There's a bit of fight and desire there. And had Jackson been on the pitch, had he not got sent off, had he not let the team down, the players there he's let down as well, we might have got back in that game. And that's why I was saying earlier, it's so important to keep your head cool and calm and stay in the game. He wasn't able to do that. And look, financially as well, that will be a huge, huge issue for Chelsea if we miss out on Champions League football. And I think we might lose more money by not getting sponsors and TV deals and, Champions League prize money if we do well enough in that competition. That it might be more money lost than Nicolas Jackson will ever be worth as a player. And to be honest with you, I'd love to know what you guys think, but if he was to leave in the summer, I probably wouldn't bat an eyelid. I expect Chelsea to go and replace him anyway in terms of someone who's good enough as a striker, or to at least challenge his numbers this summer. I expect that. I think it has to happen. It's been way too long to just be relying on sort of one player. And Nkunku's obviously gone. We've sort of burnt bridges with him in a time that we may need him, because I don't know if Mark Guy's fit or not, but I think we'll probably rather look at Neto potentially playing in that role than Nkunku. Mark Guy, if available, give the kid a chance. But look, that is such a costly mistake in both senses of the word for Nicolas Jackson today. And I think that Chelsea as a football club will feel really let down by what he decided to do today. I think unless they really do buy into the victim side of it, I think that's anyone that's played the game and seen the game is saying that it's a red card. And I think it's so obvious to see that it is. And it's going to be incredibly tough. But I do buy something from the second half. But it annoys me that it's another first half that Maresca's got it wrong, potentially, either tactically or mentality-wise, had to go at half-time to try and make adjustments. And I look at Eddie Howe and I think he got it spot on from the get-go. He knew exactly how to shut off Chelsea's sources of creativity and attack today. The way Newcastle set up, the way they thought about how that game's going to go and how to be mentally, how to wind Chelsea up enough that you can turn the result into your favour or see the game out. And then we saw it, didn't we? Right even at the end. Bruno's been in Enzo's ear. They've been winding each other up. He gets the winner. He gets the moment. Enzo Fernandez probably is absolutely livid. But it's just little things like that I think Newcastle as a team got spot on. I think it's the reason they've got a trophy this season in domestic English football. And I think it's the reason they are going to get Champions League football. And it might be the reason Chelsea don't. We're yet to know. But it's going to be tough. Trying to buy into what I saw as a positivity in players like Cucurella, players like Caicedo fighting, Reece James, so unfortunate. That's such a good chance. He's got unlucky there, but he's put himself in the right position. And I think that's what you do as a leader. Reece did that and got unlucky. But I saw players trying to win that game, which is good because some of them managed to keep their heads and understand the situation and try to make something happen. But it's going to be so tough these last two games. Incredibly frustrated, incredibly disappointed at Nicolas Jackson and his actions today. Let me know your thoughts, guys. I want to know if you think it was a red and if you think Chelsea can still get Champions League football. We've got it all to play for. We really do.